time zone. It's me, DjDoubleT, here and existing with our not really scheduled program, but an introduction to session 5 of the D&D Rundown Recap. Because recently we finally were able to have our session 5 after weeks, months, oh, 1 month and a few weeks. And yeah, so let's dive right in. So when we left off, let's see, in our session of D&D, we have the fact that our adventurers, our party, have survived the museum incident, where it was a convoluted museum incident filled with kind of Scooby Doo shenaniganeries, and just the fact that it was a little confusing, I won't lie. But our adventurers are now currently at the Adventurers Guild. They're getting healed up. They get a long rest because why not? Let's do a instead of making this a short rest, we'll make this a long rest idea. And yeah, everybody's healed to full health. Sometimes, hopefully, everybody else able to hear it, but they're all supposed to be healed to full health, get their all the spell slots back. And Kumon, our bunny bear friend of a NPC, like looks at the group and says, like, I think it's time for you guys to get upgrades because you guys are looking a little bit like, how do you say, not we. You guys are looking a little, mm, like, you could be better. Like, not really a judgmental term, but more of like, hey, it's time. The players react with an idea of, eh, wait, what do you mean upgrades? What do we need to upgrade? Is it our clothes? And like, what do you want us to do? And Kumon's just like, oh, well, weapons, maybe? Armor? Even though they're a group of like spellcasters, what kind of armor can they wear without, kind of dying? Hello, Anime God Kronos. But, right. I forgot. Well, let's see. He is Buddy Bear. It's been so long since I've seen Kumon, so I remember when I was trying to tell the group like, what is he? He's a bunny bear, half bunny, half bear, kind of like small and squishy, but also like very thick as a bear kind of character. And so the players asked like Kumon like, well, what should we do? Where do we go from here? Like, where should we get upgrades? And he's like, well, you guys should go to the bazaar. It's the perfect time as time the the in the D&D world uh is kind of like the evening time, so perfect time for a bazaar. And the place is described as like kind of still recovering from the fact that there was a whole Kraken incident and the reason why there was a beach cleanup. For the most part, there's like battle scars from the whole event from that, but it is kind of, what's the word, built built enough for people to go through. As our adventurers arrive, they notice that it's not necessarily like a pier, but you guys know like the overhangs at beaches before it. So like it is a couple of steps and then kind of like your castle tower, like leaning over like the beach itself. And so you got like your stone walls, your stone flooring, and all around is like in the center you have a performance stage for the performers, and all around you have like the walls, and then all your vendors and stalls for bazaar. Some of them are like laid around, and it is somewhat crowded, kind of picking up since it's just started. And so our players don't know what they're doing. Like, what's the point? What are we, well, what are we doing here? And I explained to them like directly, like, you guys, this is a shopping spree. Be free to explore, spend your money, and see what you want to do. There are two entrances, I guess, to make note of in this place. So, on the west wing and the north wing, there is a wall that's blocking the players from, entering. Because if they did, they'd be following a distance, like maybe 1 to 2 stories of a fall. And then on the south is like a southern entrance and an eastern entrance. Our players arrive through the eastern entrance of the world itself, right? And so the person to take the lead is Soria. Soria's like, why don't we just go around and we'll see what we want? And so they decide to go like one by one to check out each stall through the bustle, hustle, and bustle of many different people, and the others tend to like follow along. So our very first section, let's see. They stop by a man. I need to write neater if I'm gonna write smaller. I did take some notes, but they're like super small. Yeah, but now what is it? You? Eh? Oh, right. Wrong. Okay, so the first place is like a door place. We kind of skipped through the section, like we didn't get to introduce the NPC, but for those who would like to know, actually no, we won't say. If we ever encounter them, we'll get the name. But it seems like it's a place, a stall, a vendor that sells doors. Ornate doors, your fancy doors, your simple doors, all the doors you may or may not, right? And like, oh, we don't need any doors. Okay, moving on. Then the next section is a floral. Yes, a floral's place. Florentino's florals. And like, we want flowers, and like, it's meant to be like a section of like, hey, you want decorations? They're like, nah, skipping on. And so they pass to the southern entrance of the section of itself, and they're like, we don't need to enter there, but they see next to the stage in the center of the bazaar itself a guy named Luke at the stall. Luke is like, oh, Lucky's loot. And they see a bunch of boxes. And they're like, what are these boxes? What are we gonna do with them? And Luke is like, well, you wanna buy a box? You never know what you might get. And the first to bite is actually Julius. Julius is like, you know what, let's do it. Why not? What's stopping me? And so Julius is like, alright, let us go for it. It is 10 GP for a box. Whether it's good, whether it's not, who knows? So we have a little rolly situation. Julius rolls, opens the box, kind of like, oh yeah, just mundane, opens it simple enough, and doesn't see, like, doesn't shake it, doesn't check anything. There's nothing in the box. And he's like, all right, I'll do another one. So that's 20 GP down in total. And he rolls like a number, rolls actually a nat 20. And in the box itself, like, once he actually opens the box, like there's a beam of light, gold, and like you got like the violin, like holiness sound, and it turns out the god tier pull. And the item in it is a bag of tricks. For those who don't know who bag of tricks is, a bag of tricks is like a bag of tricks. You reach into a bag, you try to pull things, and who knows what's inside? Well, the bag of tricks is a gray cloth bag, and up to 3 times per day, you can reach into this bag and you can take a magic action to pull out something from this bag. And so there's like there's 8 options, but I won't tell you all of them to not spoil them. You can also look it up yourself. And Julius rolls to pull out something, pulls out a weasel. Excuse me, a weasel. Puts it on his shoulder, and he's like, okay, and I'm gonna command this thing to hit the gritty. And there's a whole performance check and and all that. And the performance check goes way too well. As many passerbys are like, oh, it's a weasel, it's hitting the gritty. Like they're so entranced by the performance, and like he's doing it with it, and like some passerby like, kind of like almost worships this weasel and like bows and gives it like two, I think 2 gold coins, and then leaves. It's just such a funny interaction. And then next up, I guess Soria decides to go for it because why not? Soria's like, I'm broke. Can I like do something? Can I get this for this price? Like a 5 gold? And no, then she's like, no, I'll go 7. Never mind, 7. And then Luke's like, I will sell it for 8. And then we go into a persuasion situation of, well, Soria is like, I'm poor. That kind of like not kind of groveling, but sells the act and does a little too well. And Luke's like, fine, I'll give you a 5 gold. That's the lowest I'll go. And Soria goes and opens this box in her own manner. I forgot what manner she does it in, but it flashes with like a blue light, and she ends up getting a dark shard amulet. Kind, but she doesn't know what it is because she doesn't have a card up. And so that's where Taiko comes in. Taiko actually, as a scholar, as a person who studies, and also a magical person, ends up figuring out, relays it with like an arcana check, an investigation, and relays it to her. So she now knows what it is. I will say, also, I forgot to make note, or to tell you guys is, in the beginning, is that all our characters have lost memories of their past lives. And once they had hit like a certain level, I reminded that, hey, you guys get to have up to 3 of your main core memories that have shaped you, and you guys can remember it. And so, whatever memories they have, they can tell me as useful information if they need to. However, Soria, the player for Soria, it was like, I don't know, you can make it up. So I have a job later to make up the story itself later on, hopefully. Now, who is next in this? Oh, then there's Taiko. and and sorry, I'm just laughing about some silly things. It's really funny how they get hung up on this situation. But Taiko's like, "All right, can I also get this for a discount price?" And Sori ends up like helping with the situation as well, getting it for like a low price. Actually, no, he doesn't really barter for it, or they do. But Taiko's able to get it for a little bit of a cheaper price as well. Casts like another persuasion check, and actually, no, the persuasion check was just super cringy. Now that I remember, he was basically saying like, I don't remember what exactly he said in the session, but it made me, the DM, cringe. Luke's just like so done with the group of like, man, I am barely making any money from this. You guys are such hot messes. And but he's able to get the item, rolls, and like kind of gets his box, kind of opens it super slowly. Like, you know how like when you pull that tape off like a package, he's like scratching into it, trying to like rip it off, and just going for it slowly. Like a good like 10 minutes have passed, and Luke's just like, I'm not paid enough for this ish. But he finally opens the box, and it flashes with like I believe, a purple light, and in it is this like swim cap. And Taiko's like, oh, okay, cool, I'm happy with it. And was just like gonna go off on his way, kind of just like puts it in his pocket and is about to just be happy with his box. The fact that this guy has a box. I'm s- I'm remembering everything that happened, and it's so hard to hold like a serious face with it. And I'm like, listen, it's not just any cap. It's a cap of water breathing. And he's like, oh, cool. Continues the box. And then it's funny because Tiger's like, I'm a short guy. Like, I'm a small guy. And I'm like, looking at his character sheet, you're 6 feet tall. You're not a small guy. And he's like, can I fit in this box? I'm like, no. So we go through this whole like process of trying to fit in this box. He's kind of like that cat that doesn't fit in the box. So like he's sticking out of it. His knees are out. His like torso's out. He's barely fitting. And then he's trying to ask Luke like another question. I believe like, do you have a bigger box? And then he can't really turn because he's like kind of stuck in this box, but not like so stuck that he can't get out of it. And Luke's just like, I could give you it for this price, but you would have to buy it from me. I do have bigger boxes. And he's like, no, never mind. I'm actually happy with this box. I can't exchange it. And so that's the end of our chaotic like loot box scheme scenario. Maybe next time it'll be more pricey. Maybe it'll be cheaper. Who knows? Well, it's loot boxes. It's gambling. Sometimes you got good stuff. Sometimes you don't. But our players then go to the next stall. It is a stall with like a cat, like just laying there, like an orange tabby cat with like a green hat. And it seems like there's a bunch of like different decorations from, your simple trinkets to your lamps. And one thing catches like up Tycho's eyes. Seems like when I mentioned glow in the dark stars, kind of like those ones in real life that you put to your ceiling, but this is the D&D version, so like you can view them with magic, and they like light up just a little bit like little night lights. And I go like, I want that. But then they realize the cat. So Tycho's like trying to offer the cat the box, like, hey, you wanna hop in? And like the cat is starting to hyperventilate. It turns out it's actually a talking cat. Um, who is running the stall. His name is Deco. Deco the Neko of the Deco Neko stall. And right, he's not the Deco Neko, but his real name is actually Pumpkin. Whoopsies. Kind of forgot. I need to read notes better. Oh well. But this cat's like hyperventilating and like really about to like touches his box and trying to get like, cause it's the cat instinct. And unfortunately it kind of fails. No, not even kind of fails. It fails entirely. And Tycho touches like the cat's paw because of like the interaction and passes like a saving throw to like not be entranced by the cuteness of a cat. And luckily, there's a whole bartering situation of how much can you trade for this box for stars, glow in the dark stars, and that you can view with mana to keep them charged up, right? And he's like, I will give you one. And then there's a whole persuasion situation happening. And I believe he gets like six of them instead for that one box. And so it's a little trade. Lovely little trade. Then the next one is. What is this place? What does it say? Oh, it be. What's it? Ah, okay. And the next stall they go to, because it's like we're done, is a stall called Menjo Business. It's apparently an item repair stall. And they see like a little mouse folk named Mendy. She has like goggles. She's wearing a steampunk outfit, kind of like your like classic steampunk dress to like a bunch of gears and like knickknacks. But she's actually a blacksmith. And the group's like, can we upgrade our goods here? And it turns out they can't actually. Oh, right. That's something I should make a note of. Do 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 do. Thank you. This is also the reason why I go doing this because like it helps me keep notes of things I need to do, which is like, um, and also, what am I looking for? Oh, and okay. And yeah, like she doesn't do upgrades, but she does like fix stuff, and she can do like a couple of things, and also like a little bit of identification of items, like specifically items, not like your magical things, like anything that is weaponry or armor. A blacksmith, she can do it, but she does know somebody who they can refer to upgrade their items potentially, and yeah, they do that business. They move on. They find a food stall. The food stall being called. Where is it? I should have like. I think for my notes, I also need to highlight, but keep things in bold, so I can remember the names of things because I'm scrolling through and I'm like I can't find the name. Uh oh yes, it's called Gobble Duck Gobble It Up. It is a food stall that serves meals. They specialize in chicken. They make chicken any way you want it. That's what you need. They make grilled chicken. They make boiled chicken. If you're into that, steamed chicken. You got your like fried chicken. You got your popcorn chicken. But they get to meet like the goblins, Gobbleduck and his wife Greta. Greta's like the cook. Gobbleduck's like the one like running the stall itself. But they interact. They end up getting popcorn chicken because they're starving, and like the food is described as like the aroma hits you, and like if you weren't hungry before, your stomach's starting to grow. If you are already hungry, you are salivating like there's no tomorrow. Like the spices are just right, and but they decide to get like popcorn chicken, specifically Sordia and Taiko. Julius decides not to get anything. They skip out on the booze itself, and once they take it to a bite, like it's super juicy. You got that mixture of the blends of the spices, the herbs, a little bit of like salty to like little hint of sweetness, and like just the right amount of oil. But it is good. I actually made myself hungry thinking about like imaginary food. The power of subliminal messaging. After that, they go to a stall called Drink Up. It seems to be run by like an older lady, like a little grandma of sorts. But it's a stall like that contains many different potions, whether it is the good stuff, the bad stuff. But it seems like she can also analyze potions that people may not know what they have, and she's also selling her own potions. So like, but they're really expensive. Like they're 5 GP for each thing when it comes to like healing potions and other things. Somebody wants like some healing potions, but she's like, I'm kind of broke. And they go through like the whole bartering exchange, trying to figure out like, hey, what can I do? And they decided to go for like a trade for the item. I think the amethyst, or actually, let me pull it up. Like, luckily, we have it in the notes. Azurite, sorry, not amethyst, but Azurite. And they do like a little trade for the item itself. Taiko actually talks to the lady as well, and is like, I have these potions, these ones, and he finally gets like to figure out what these potions are and like what they do. So I believe it is there's an orange potion that gives you like for the day until your another long rest. A potion that gives you intelligence +2 for a bit. A love potion that can a yellow potion that's kind of like a love potion where if anybody drinks it, the first person they see they will fall in love with for like a while. And the last one would be a purple potion, which is if they drink it, whatever they think of, they will say. It's not necessarily a truth potion, but a potion of like open mouth. So no matter what you're thinking, you can't protect yourself from it. You're gonna be spitting out these words of like, I gotta say this. Like if I'm thinking about food, you're gonna be hearing food, 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 cheese, lasagna, your mom's a toe, or whatever they may be thinking. It could be useful. And during the session, Taiko's player told us a story about how they whatchamacallit. Yes, they did use a love potion or charm on a dragon. And you guys know how like the story goes about trying to romance a dragon. Well, he ends up getting kidnapped and force no sorry, not a dragon. It's the big bad evil guy in their D&D session of separate from mine. Where they get kidnapped and forcefully is they're getting tried to be engaged with the big bad evil. And it is wild. But that's it. So from there, oh yes, and the last thing that Sordio wants is the liquid, the unnamed liquid, like that has no name for it, that has no identification. It seems like it's a junk potion, like an amalgamation of all the other potions or like whatever's left over. They're like, fine, let's mix it all together, and we sell it for the lowest price. And if you want to buy it and check your whims, well, you can have it. Whether or not it's good, well, time may tell. From there, we go into we see instead of a vendor stall, we see like a tent that like a purple tent that oozes out an air of mysteriousness. And like right next to it is a sign, the Veiled Lady's Fortune. And right? No, sorry, it's called a Veiled Lady. No, not to be mistaken with the Veiled Lady, the lady that we've seen a while back ago, right? But she's like, okay. Our players are like, nope. We're not interested. No, we don't need fortunes. We're kind of well. One of them's like, I'm kind of spending all my money. We'll forget about it. So they skip it. They just like, why not? Next one is like an adventure up. It is a stall with all the adventure items you might need for hiking, for adventuring, for spelunking, whatever you may think you might need. our players are like, we already have stuff like that. Why do I want to check it out? Skip. And like, they are more than welcome to explore more, but if they don't want to, they don't have to. And that's something I'm trying to be better about as a DM, is that I may or may not put cool stuff in each and every little thing, and they may or may not check it out. Or it could be something you return to. But we leave that there. And sometimes the stuff they skip could be something for later. Maybe, maybe not. And the next section seems like to be a knick-knack store, like tchotchkes. You got your key change, like not key change, keychains. They are Nicky's knickknacks, and you can find a bunch of knickknacks. Not really interested. No one cares about decor in this game, and I don't know. For some reason, for me, like if I'm gonna have a place at D&D, I need some slice of life, and so that is a place for like if you want to have some small decorations. But they skip that. Last but not least is Rusty's. Rusty's is a sorry, not Rusty's. Another man's trash, another man's treasure. It's kind of like a pawn shop. It is a and also like a junkyard. It's filled with heaps of like rusted gears, items, things that are unidentifiable, but people there are more than welcome to search and try to find something. One of our players tries to, Sordia specifically tries to find something and doesn't find anything, and they're like, okay, we're done. And with that, uh, oh right, something I forgot to mention was that Kumon actually decides to go with the group from the very beginning, from Winters Guild, all the way to Bazaar because the players don't know where it is, and he also needs to get some things done himself. And he's there. He's like, just make sure if you guys are done, or if you guys want to, you guys can come with me while I go and like find things. So that's what they do. Well, that's not what they do. They go and reconvene with them after they're done with their shopping spree or an exploration. And so some of the players are like, we're tired. We haven't. We're I don't have full health. And then I remind them, hey, uh, you guys long rested in the beginning of the adventure. You guys should be full health, unless somehow you weren't able to rest whatsoever. But then Kumon's like, why don't we enjoy the night a little bit? Let's listen to the performance. As like in the very beginning, there's also a band trying to kind of set up. You know, different like little folks playing like some nice city jazz, kind of airing out through the whole area. And that's when everybody's like, well, let's check things out. Let's look at. Okay. And after some time, the lights begin to flicker, like a little spookily. Then the music goes for like a sharp, like screeching sound, kind of like nails on a chalkboard, as scratching and like loudness. And it turns out the band is no longer there. They're replaced by like these masked figures playing on these instruments, and then the lights go dark, purely dark. Then then at the east entrance and the southern entrance there are a total of 5 entities. Some like masked figures in the dark, from those who could see with night vision, not night vision, uh, dark vision, and then there's screeching and also destruction and slaughtering as people are indiscriminately like attacked, gashed out, choked out, passed out, and some of them are just taken out. And this is where our players are now engaged within combat, as there are 3 enemies to the east entrance and 2 enemies to the southern entrance. So our players go through combat. Some of the like we're gonna go through it really quickly, kind of. Kumon is also there. Sage, since our player Sage is not there, she's been getting wasted in the bazaar. She's been doing her own thing, but she's kind of knocked out. But she's the healer of the group. She's been doing her own thing, but Kumon's the one who's getting mainly attacked. Like he got a big like chunk of his arm bitten now, and he's like bleeding. Um, Julius gets taken out of the combat. Somehow, like one of the enemies disappear, and like he collapses on the floor. No one knows why. Soria has to pull Sage to be like, hey, can you heal us? Taiko does some questionable things with Kumon. He's like, hey, Kumon, I'm gonna hop on top of you. And like, what's the spell? I don't know what the spell exactly, but teleports them up into the air and they fall onto an enemy with the weight of Kumon and like crushes the guy's neck. One of the other enemies is like falling, warped by Taiko, and like he's falling, and when he lands, you can hear the crunch of like a bone a little bit, but at the same time, he isn't like dead. Like mist comes out, and Taiko tries to do like some light to see if like some light spell is the affecting thing, if they're the creatures thinking they are. It doesn't seem like it, but and then on Julius' end, so Julius is collapsed, but he's affected by something, like, and he's taken to like a dark realm. Can't really see anything. He tries to like roll to see if like he can sense anything until there's like this shadowy figure that waltzes towards him like in a dance, and he has to make a saving throw right there. But then it like he gets pierced by like a dart, like a rose, and this rose like transforms after like a sharp pang of pain, no blood. And Julius does try like to fight this guy, tries to uh play a melody. Actually, in the very beginning also, he hears a melody all too familiar that he should be familiar with. He tries to like pull out a lute to play with this guy, but he has no lute. Then he tries to go and stab this guy. He has no blade. Tries to reach for his blade, it's not there. But after all of that, the figure disappears, and in his hand is like a letter, and then the whole dark area starts to fade as like he begins to like regain consciousness and like is slowly waking up. Another note is that besides the weasel, Julius also prepares an action and it pulls out a dire wolf. Like for some reason, you got your weasel in that bag, and now you got a dire wolf, and this dire wolf is like going ham in the combat. But once Julius wakes up, the figure that was engaged in combat and inside that memory is now like no longer there. So now it's just four enemies, and like down below is like that black letter with a wax seal that he recognizes as like the Thieves Guild. He doesn't have the time to read it. He doesn't open it. Doesn't decide to look at it. But the combat ensues, and some people need to be healed. Sage is like incapacitated, but she's waking up by Sordia to like at least do a healing spell. Tycho gets knocked, like he's rolling, your death saving throws. One fail, one succeeds, another succeed, and Sage. Luckily for Tycho, Sage drunkenly rolls over and is just like, oh, just wait me on my turn, something, and like luckily like touches him and decides, I'll just heal you, and so he's back up. Things are fine. And then let's go. And I think that's all like the larger notes of the combat. Combat ends, and after all the enemies are defeated, luckily the team is kind of taking some chunks of damage. Kumon is like worse for wear, and Tago's like, I will pay for your hospital bills for like the whole incident of making him fall like 3 stories down, crushing the enemy because hey, it might hurt. And the group is interrogated like once the lights have like flickered back because the enemies are gone by kind of like the soldiers to take care of the whole mess. Lots of people are injured, some have already passed, and they get called for healers. And Kumon's healed luckily, like he's taken care of. He might have a scar from that big chunk that's taken out of his arm, but our players try to loot. But weirdly enough, where there should be bodies, there's just the black capes and the masks that the enemies were wearing. And hay. Just hay. And one of our players, Julius, has to leave from there because that's his end point from there. And everybody is now taken back home. And Tycho's like, I'm gonna pass out. Sori's gonna pass out. But Tycho has one last little thing he has to deal with. In the corner of his room is like a crow. He tries to cast Frost Touch on it. a frost wave, whatever the spell is. I can't remember the name right now. is and like fails, and this three-eyed raven is like annoyed and like just disappears and is offended and leaves behind like another letter with another sigil, and he's like, I'm just gonna mage hand it. I'm too tired for this. He's also screaming at it because it's dark, and Soria comes in and like checks out what's wrong, and they're there about to like read this letter, and on this letter, right, reads to be continued in session 6, and that's where it ends. And then Soria was like, "What? Why? What? This is a joke?" And then I'm like, "No, no, no. It's like," and here I am as a DM explaining. It's just the scenario of, you know, find out on the next episode. So that's something for the next session. But that is the end of the D&D recap for session number 5. Something that I need to make sure the next time is actually getting the maps ready, because I think I can handle making maps now. But yeah, that is it for the D&D rundown recap session number 5. And hopefully one day we'll have a live session so you guys can actually see what's happening. I won't be able to interact with like stream chat because, it's D&D stuff, and I would like to focus as just being a DM. But yeah, thank you to those who came by this section. And if you want to see a D&D rundown recap live, or you want to ask me D&D things or about the world, feel free to come to my Twitch, since you've seen this on YouTube most likely, or not. And yeah, thanks for watching. For now, well, we'll switch this up to our next segment, and Anime God Kronos. I will get right back to you in a second.